Three things certain in life. Man United overpaying for a player, death, and taxes. 100%. Every single transfer window, Man United comes in and say, oh yeah, we're Man United. We're going to pay the big bills for these players, man, when they're really not even worth half of what they're paying. Antony, Jadon Sancho, and the list goes on with all these players. And every single time, it blows up in their face, and they'll still come out and say, oh, lads, we're Man United. We get the player we want no matter the price tag. And then you've got the kit man and the kitchen and the people who wash the jerseys getting fired or not being fed lunch. All these budget cuts to save a few quid when they're overspending for the likes of Baleba. This is absolutely detrimental to the club, and that's really the reality on why Man United had all these financial cuts, in the last year, since Ineos came in, because you're paying all this money to Rashford to play for Barcelona. You got Jadon Sancho on the books, you've got Antony on the books, you got all these guys, Casemiro. You're overpaid for all these guys, or you're paying them way too much a week for what they're actually producing for the actual club of Man United, man. The amount of quid that's been invested for Dortmund to get to a Champions League final with Jadon Sancho in the lineup, for the amount of quid for Betis, to get to a European final with, Antony being a main reason for that. The amount of quid they're paying for Rashford, for Aston Villa to have a good season, and they're not learning their lesson. Man United are prepared to a record-breaking bid to test Brighton's, resolve for Baleba, and that's gonna be in excess of 100 million, lads. And I'm telling you right now, look at Baleba. Do you think he's on Paul Pogba's level when he was at Juventus? Genuinely, prime Pogba, who took Juventus, who was a big part of that midfield with Marquisio, Pirlo, all these lads at Juventus, having Alvaro Morata as striker and Higuain as another option. You had all these guys, Mandzukic. These aren't huge names, and Paul Pogba was a main piece in that midfield. A main piece. Played like £100 million player, taking a team to a Champions League final. Baleba has took Brighton to mid-table to mid-table. From mid-table to mid-table. Mid-table. At 21 years old. He has not given me any direction that he's £100 million player. I'm sorry, you're overpaying. Telling you right now, if they offered him to Arsenal for 60 million, I might say no. 100%. Because, mate, he might be a quality young player, but what does this indicate to me? That he's gonna play for Man United at the Old Trafford in one day, that maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in the next 3 years, but in a Champions League setting, receiving Bayern Munich at 24 years old, at home, with the pressure on the line, just because he's handled West Ham at home, or, Fulham away. It's just, come on, lads. I'm telling you, 100 million, that little price tag is being dropped a bit too much. And it's absolutely, because the crazy thing is, he's not even English. You can't even say, oh, English tax. No, there's no English tax there, man. He's not. Come on. So, this is the thing. Man United are not planning to proceed after, they were like, okay, they're actually serious. We offered them close to 100 million. They're not actually taking it. They actually feel like they can get Caicedo type money, Enzo Fernandez type money. Considering, I will admit, he's showing the potential to be on those two players' level. Now I'm not saying he's a Paul Pogba. I'm not saying he's like a world-class player potential. But he's giving signs that he can be a quality Premier League player like the two I just mentioned. He could be in the top 5 in his respective position in the league, not in the world, like once Paul Pogba. I'm comparing to Paul Pogba because that's the last time, Man United hit around 100 million for a midfielder. So, to me, if you don't learn your lesson from the Casemiro, if you're not learning your lesson from the Sancho, if you're not learning your lessons from the Antony, lads, when are you going to learn your lesson? You're going to pay 100 million for this guy to go in, have too much pressure, and then he just falls off of the face of the earth. Your Mason Mount even couldn't handle the pressure. My man can't even get on the pitch. But an actual pretty good, good fit and a decent price tag is Adam Wharton. I actually rate this lad. He's actually shown me a bit more than Baleba. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And he's English and he's cheaper. To be honest, Adam Wharton to me is not twice the player, but he's substantially greater than Carlos Baleba. I'm sorry to tell you. And he's English made, and he's played in big games for the English national team. So what that tells me and he didn't look, like the moment was too big for him. He's won a trophy for Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, lads. And he's played some quality teams in the FA Cup and in the Premier League. He's had great performances. To me, this is a player that would absolutely fit that double pivot, with Man United. Genuinely. This is a Man United type player. This is coming from a guy that can't stand Man United. And honestly, if you were to pay 70 million, you save 30 million. And you're getting the better player, the more proven player. He has more experience, in the big stages than that man, Carlos Baleba. And I'm telling you, if this season they don't wrap him up, this guy's, transfer fee's going to go up. Imagine he pulls what West Ham did with Declan Rice. Declan Rice, if you got him the year before West Ham actually won that Conference League, he wouldn't have been 105 million. But he goes and gets, European success, shows that he can do it in the big stages. And then he ends up being around 100 million, in excess of 100 million. And he performed like a 100 million pound player. And he's been not a flop. He's been what the price tag, if not more. So, to me, Adam Wharton, he reminds me a lot of what Declan Rice was. And Declan Rice is a player that Man United missed on. And this is the next one right here. This is the next actually fundamental piece that you could build your midfield around. Right now, Man United, you have Kobe Mainoo. You've got Bruno Fernandes, who I believe should be on his way out, considering the system isn't really fitting him now that you have Cunha and Mbeumo. Now you also have Sesko. So Adam Wharton, to me, is a player that Man United should put their full focus on, especially if he's 30 million cheaper. If a Man United fan actually disagrees with me on this one, because genuinely, let's say you were getting either or for free, you're gonna choose Adam Wharton 100 times out of 100, man. I'm sorry to tell you. And the reason why Baleba, he's like, oh, I'm keen on the move to Man United. I'm not happy. My man's gonna go from 15K a week to 150,000 a week. No dub, my man wants that. Anybody wants that, Antony, when he was at Ajax, see that pay increase he got. Casemiro from Real Madrid still ended up getting a pay increase to Man United, Every time you go to Man United, when you're linked to Man United, your generation of families are going to be paid off, and you no longer have to really put 100% effort. And that is the problem in Man United, genuinely. They are overpaying for players, and then they end up paying for these players to play for other clubs in the Premier League even. Rashford, the golden boy, mate. He took apparently around a 20% pay cut, and he's still earning a top quality dollar. And you know what he's going to be doing? He's going to be helping Barcelona push for a Champions League, push for La Liga. And Man United, what are they going to be doing? Fighting in the mid-table. Fighting in the mid-table while they pay Marcus Rashford a ton of money to play for That's absolutely mind-blowing. And this could be another situation. This could be another Mason Mount. This could be, another one of the transfers that I've told you. So to me, Adam Wharton, to me, is a Man United player. Carlos Baleba is going to be a flop. So it makes all the sense for this man to be a Man United player. And I'm just looking out for United on this one. That's my thing right here. I'm telling you, if I was running it, I'm taking Adam Wharton for 70 million, then Baleba for 90. 100%. I don't even care. Anyways, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Who would you prefer at Man United if you can only sign one of them? But anyways, thank you guys for watching.